Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, from based on where you're connecting from. I know that there are a few connecting outside of Sri Lanka, so welcome everybody. Uh, it's really exciting to have all of you here at the inaugural meetup of the Sri Lankan Power BI community. We actually got started about uh, 5-6 months ago at the beginning of this year, but then we could not bring anything forward due to certain reasons. But here we are. We are quite excited. Just a quick check to see if you can just put up on the Q&A if you can all hear me. Dinesh, I can be heard, right?
We can hear Gokula.
Awesome. All right, so continuing further, so welcome everybody. So today agenda looks like this. Our format is going to be a featured session for about 45 to 50 minutes, and then we'll move on to after the Q&A with the featured speaker to the segment called Favorite New Feature. Here, a member of the community or an expert will showcase a new feature from Power BI in about 20 minutes. We also plan to have in the future certain Power BI tips which will be demoed by experts or members of the community. So first up, we have REZA. So REZA Rad is no stranger to the Sri Lankan data community. He is a superstar. He hails from New Zealand. So 3 years ago, he was down in Sri Lanka with Leila for the SQL Saturday event. He made sure that the event was a big event. He is Microsoft Regional Director, and he's also CEO, coach, and consultant at RADACAD, which he runs with Leila. REZA is quite famous all around the world, so I don't think most of you need an introduction to him. So we'll start with REZA. The next one after REZA would be NISAL. NISAL will be talking about a new feature in Power BI called page navigation enhancements. And once that's done, we will get into announcements and some Q&A. Okay. So let's get started. So I will move on to having REZA up on the screen. REZA, will you be able to share your screen, please? There we go.
Okay, can you see my screen?
We can.
Okay, and the sounds comes okay, hopefully.
Yep, you're quite clear.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Gagula, Dinesh, for the opportunity. Thank you everyone for joining this event. As Gagula mentioned, I came once to Sri Lanka, had the pleasure to be with some of you for the SQL Saturday Sri Lanka. I think it was like 2-3 years ago. Hopefully in some other scenarios, situations, we would come back at some stage as well. Okay, what this session is about. In this session, we are going to talk about two really important components of Power BI, which is Dataset versus Dataflow, how they work with each other, and how they shape something like a development architecture, which is quite good practice to follow. A little bit about me. I'm REZA Rad. I'm a Power BI, let's say, data platform MVP, Microsoft Regional Director. I've written some Power BI books, which some of those you can download for free, like Power BI from Rookie to Rockstar from RADACAD website. Feel free to download it. These are my contact information. I'll share the slides as well with Gagula so he can share it with you. Okay, let's jump into the topic. When we talk about Dataflow versus Dataset, it's good to know them through the story that they have been created. When Power BI came like a few years ago, it was designed best for like single developer to go and build a BI solution. Imagine you are the only developer in your team and you are building a Power BI solution, a reporting solution for them, right? You might have multiple users, but you are the only person building the reporting solution, right? And you are only solving one reporting solution problem. It might have a lot of questions in it, but it's only like one type of things, like you are building sales analysis. For one-person developer, Power BI is really good option because you can use Power BI Desktop, you can get data from any sources, you can do data transformations, all of that possible in Power BI Desktop, and you can visualize it. And then you can publish it and share it with your audience. And whenever you want to make a change, again, you open the file, one single file, open that, make your changes, publish it again, right? One single file is really easy and agile way of working with such a persona of a person who is the single developer in a team, a single developer in a team of other people as well, right? But what happens if you have more than one developers? When you have multiple developers, the scenario is a little bit different. Sometimes even one person with multiple reporting problems to solve is also the same scenario. When you have multiple people, Power BI is not really good designed for multiple developers working at the same time. They cannot apply change. They cannot make changes at the same time on the same data file. Like if I have one Power BI file, I have to make changes. I have to save it, send it to someone else. They have to make changes, save it, and send it to me, right? And what happens if in the middle of these suddenly both of us make changes, right? It's not easy to keep track of one single file to be the source of the single source of truth. And as you go on, your file grows bigger and bigger. You add more tables into that, you add more visualization pages into that, you add more measures. Every time you want to make a change, you have to open that whole big file, make a change, save it again and publish it. Even if your change is such a simple DAX measure, let's say, change, still you need to open the whole file and do that, right? So there are lots of challenges, lots of duplicates, lots of problems with the maintenance, high maintenance problems. Only a few of them are mentioned here, right? Single file is not a proper scenario for when you have multiple developers, or even when you have one person developing multiple solutions. One example of a problem that can happen is when you want to use one table in multiple files, right? I call it query because in Power Query we call tables query, right? So you want to use a table in multiple files. Imagine this scenario. Let's say we have a sales table, a sales Power BI file, and we have an inventory Power BI file. The sales Power BI file has a number of tables. Inventory Power BI file also has a number of tables. They are not essentially exactly the same because inventory file has tables such as inventory movement, sales has tables such as sales transactions, right? But some of the tables are going to be available in both. Date table, for example, product table. These are tables that is going to be available for both. Now, you might have spent a lot of time to build your date table in the first model, or to build your product table in the first model. Let's say you merged product and product category and subcategory, you build a product table. Now, in the second file, how you are going to use it? One possible solution is to go to the first file, copy the MS script, the Power Query script, come to the new file, paste it over there, right? That is going to solve the problem. Yeah, you are going to have that table in the second file as well. But then the problem is that your source code is in two different places, right? What happens if after a couple of weeks you realize that you have to go and change the date table in the first file And then you have to also remember that you should go and change it in the second file as well. Or what if there's 5 different files using the same table, right? Because you don't have one single version of truth for your data transformation for your date table, you have a lot of copies of that. You have to repeat your transformations in every place, right? So it's repeating of transformations and also not having single version of the source code, right? Dataflow is the answer for this problem, right? So what Dataflow is a Power Query process that runs in the Power BI service, and the result of that is stored not in Power BI dataset, right? It is independent from Power BI dataset. It's stored somewhere else because normally in Power BI, when you get data from different places, it stores the data inside the in-memory storage of Power BI itself. But this is not like that. It's not storing in Power BI in-memory storage. It is storing it in a different storage. So what is the storage for Dataflow? The storage for Dataflow is Azure Data Lake, right? And we are talking about Power BI data flows because Power Platform data flows, they are a little bit different in terms of their structure, right? So Power BI data flows, they stores the data into Azure Data Lake storage. It's in folders, and each folder might have subfolders. The data actually is stored kind of in a CSV format, right? Now, when it comes to here, a lot of people say, I don't have Azure Data Lake subscription, so I can't use this one. You can actually use it. The only thing you need to use this is you need to have Power BI license. Either Power BI Premium or Power BI Pro would work fine. Not free, of course, but the other 2 options would definitely work fine. When you have Power BI Pro, for example, part of your space in the Power BI servers in the cloud, in the Power BI service, part of that is Azure Data Lake, internal Azure Data Lake storage that can be used for the process of data flows, right? If you have your own Data Lake subscription, you can use that, and that would be called as external data flow. But I'm not going to talk about that for now. Even for normal Power BI Pro premium account and things like that, without any Data Lake subscriptions account, you can still use Dataflow. So your Dataflow process the transformations, stores it in Azure Data Lake storage as a CSV format. And then the last part of all of these is that it can get data, Power BI can get data from the result of that data flow. And that creates a good connection because now you have the data processed. In Power BI, you get data from it instead of redoing that process again, right? So if we go back to that example I've been explaining, now I have sales, Power BI file, inventory Power BI file. They have their own tables, but one of their tables, which is date table, for example, I have that processed in a data flow, and I'm getting data from that data flow itself, which makes it good in 2 ways. One way is that that date dimension script or transformation is in that data flow. If ever I'm going to change it, I'm just going there and changing it, and those 2 Power BI files will get the latest versions, right? Another thing is that it is only processed in one place. I don't need to process it 5 times or 6 times, right? So much better in performance, much better in the maintenance of the code as well. This can be used to make your Power BI refresh time faster, because if you have all of your heavy lifting transformations inside Power Query that is part of your Power BI dataset, then your refresh time would be long. Versus if you separate the heavy lifting transformation in Dataflow, and then in Power BI just do the get data from the result of that, your Power BI refresh time would be faster. The overall refresh time is the same, but your Power BI refresh time would be faster, and that means that you can develop your solutions faster when it refreshes faster. You can actually use this approach to build like a data warehouse, right? Not every organization has the luxury of having Azure SQL Data Warehouse, Synapse, Azure SQL Database, or any other database or data storage technologies. With Dataflow, you can actually build that. You can use a number of data flows and build the table structure in which you want to build like your star schema and things like that, and use Power BI to get data from it. Right. So let me show you that in a quick demo. For this example here, I have a Power BI desktop file, which has a few tables. This is a sales Power BI file. It has product table, customer table, and the sales table. What I'm missing here is a date table. Now I can go and create a date table here by using a script like this. Let me just bring it here. This is a Power Query script for creating a date table. I can go ahead, copy it, and create it here as a blank query. For some reason, Power BI doesn't respond to my actions. So let me do it. Yeah, okay. So it was a little bit slow. So, okay. Here it is. So I can do like get data from blank query and paste it over there to have my date table. But the problem with that, you already know. That means I have the date table built inside this Power BI model. If I need it in another Power BI model, I have to do it again, and I will have multiple versions of the source code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build that date table inside a data flow and then get data from that data flow here, right? Data flow is an object that you have to build in the Power BI service, right? So I'll go to the Power BI service, to the website, Power BI website also called, right? In the service, in a workspace, I can go create a new data flow. This is a place that you can start building a data flow. So it's not something you build in Power BI desktop. It is totally a service feature, right? I'll go and build a data flow here. There are different ways to build it. Let's say I start with new entities. Now, this is like a Power Query in Power BI desktop. I have different sources. I can get data from it. For example, I can choose SQL Server database, enter the server name, database name, things like that, or I can choose any other sources. Because this is a date table and I have the script, I'm going to choose blank query and paste my script here, right? I can customize my date table if I want to, like a start and end and fiscal year and things like that. If my source is coming from on-prem source, I can go and select the gateway for that. I don't need that for now. Then going to the next step, this is like Power Query Editor online experience, which gives me all the columns here, all the transformations that have been done to create this. That was all part of that M script. I'm going to call this table date table. Now in here, I can have more tables as well. I can have product table, customer table, right? It's up to you how you want to design your data flows. You might have like one entity per data flow or more than one entity per data flow. That's absolutely up to your standards. I'm going to save this. For this example, this is the only table I need, so I'm going to save this. Let's call it Sri Lanka Power BI user group. Data flow. After you build your data flow, it's time to refresh it, and you can schedule it to refresh or you can refresh it manually. Because this is just an example for this scenario, I'm going to refresh it manually. What did I call it? I think I called it Sri Lanka, something like that. Yep, here it is. So I'm going to refresh it manually. While that is getting refreshed, I come here and I'm going to get data and I choose Power BI data flows. And when I choose that, the first time you need to log in with your account, Power BI account, but I've already done that. It is showing me all the workspaces that I have any data flows on it. This is the one that I've created under that. And then under this, there should be that data flow. Yep, here it is, the data flow. Under this, here is my date table, right? It has all those columns. And I can easily get this data and load it here without even doing any transformations. Another good thing is that even if I don't have any idea how to build this date table, someone already built it and I'm going to use it, which brings us to the multi-developer approach of this, that my data modeler, the person who brings the data tables here and create a relationship, can be totally different from the person who goes and build the data flow, which is my ETL developer. So your ETL developer can build the data flow. Your data modeler can get data from the result of that. You have decoupled the data transformation layer from the rest of the model using this approach. And that decoupling is helpful because now you can have multiple people working at the same time with this. I can go ahead and create a relationship with this, but this was just an example to show you how I can have this table now loaded from Dataflow rather than getting it from building it over here, right? So that is Dataflow. Now the next thing in this architecture is a dataset. Now let me explain what is a dataset first, then we'll talk about how they work with each other. In Power BI, dataset is the place where the data is stored. Tables, the relationships, all the calculations, the connection to the data source, all of those build something called dataset, right? It's different from Dataflow. Dataflow also includes data. Dataset is also includes data. There are differences. Dataset stores data in memory. Dataflow stores the data in CSV format, right? Inside Azure Data Lake. But Dataset stores it in memory in the cloud machine, whatever it's provided in the Power BI service. And the report is the one that has all the visualization layers, slicers, filters, charts, and things like that. Right. When you publish this into the service, you'll see this separation a little bit better. You see a dataset section, a section for reports, right? And there are different actions for each of these. So now that you know what dataset is, what if you want to do this? What if you have multiple report visualizers? These are people who are going to build visualizations, column chart, bar chart, map visual. You have multiple of these wanting to use the same model, same calculations that you have, all of the sales calculations, year to date, previous, same period last year, all of those, they want to use all of these. How they are going to do that? The answer to that is a shared dataset. A shared dataset is a dataset that has been shared among multiple reports. By default, every dataset is used in one report. When you publish your Power BI file to the cloud, there is a one dataset with that name and one report with that name. But then you can use that dataset to build a new report, right? And there is a way to do that in the Power BI service. So you can go ahead and do this with like creating new report from the existing Power BI dataset, or you can do this in Power BI desktop with get data from Power BI dataset, which I'll be going and showing this to you in a second. So as another example here, I'm going to close that Power BI file. open a new one. And while that is opening, I'll show you a different workspace here. Here I have a workspace with some reports already in this workspace. One of these reports is this movies report, which if I go and open it, this is like movies information. Now I can go here, click on view related to see the dataset related to that. That is a dataset, the movies dataset. And I can click on this. That will give me the ability to create a new report connected to the same dataset. My new report won't have a dataset of its own. It will be using this as a shared dataset in between. Now I can do the same thing here in Power BI Desktop. I can say get data from Power BI dataset. Okay, and I'm seeing all of these data sets that I have access to. There's a labeling system that helps me, like what are gold reports, bronze reports, and silver reports. I can go and select any of these that I want. Let's say this is the movies data set I've been looking at. This will create a live connection to that data set. Here it is. This is a live connection to that data set, and I see both tables here with their calculations, whatever it is. I just build a visualization here on top of it. For example, I can say give me the sales by studio. These are movies information. So I make this as, let's say, a bar chart and another chart which is title of movies and their sales. Let's say this is a column chart, right? You can build whatever you want. The thing is that this is just a visualization layer and it is connected live to the Power BI dataset up in the cloud. This model doesn't have the data tab in it. There is no data tab. There is only one report tab because this is a live connected Power BI dataset. I can publish it. Let me first save this in desktop as Lanka Pog sample. Okay, and then publishing it. I can publish it to the same workspace or a different workspace. Let's say to the same workspace, we'll do that. And here it is. The report is now published to the same workspace. If I go to view related, this is using the same dataset. Right. I can in fact go and see that dataset, which is this one, and say give me all related objects to that under view related, if I can find it. It used to be called view related. I think it's now called view lineage. Lots of changing happening. Okay, here it is. So here you can see that I have this many reports all coming from the same dataset. Right. So you can have one dataset easily shared among with multiple reports. What are the good things about this method? The good things is that I can have some people building these visualizations. My report visualizers, they go and build this visualization. And my data modeler, the person who is good with DAX and relationships, build the data model. Right. And this is not dataset. This is not Dataflow. This is dataset. Right. Let me show a combination of all of these together so that you get a good understanding of these together. So the architecture I'm talking about is a 3-layer architecture. We have Dataflow as a first layer, which is Power Query, getting data from sources, doing transformations, storing in Azure Data Lake. We have the shared dataset, which is getting data from Dataflow, having multiple data marts with tables, relationships, DAX calculations. And we have a reporting layer, visualization layer with live connection to those datasets, right? There are many benefits in this. One of the benefits is that you can have 3 types of developers working at the same time with this architecture. Your ETL developer, your data modeler, and your data visualizers, they all can work at the same time in this scenario. Other good things is that you can replace one layer and use another substitute for that. For example, what if you have Excel users? A lot of Excel users use Analyze in Excel, which can be easily replaced with your visualization layer. Instead of Power BI, you can have Analyze in Excel, and the rest works just fine. What if you have, if you are using other tools like Tableau, ClickSense, any other things like that, right? Because they don't usually have a proper data modeling feature in it, you can have Power BI building the data model, Tableau, ClickSense, and anything like that, connecting to that, doing visualization. This is using a premium function, of course, something called XMLA endpoint, which is premium function at the moment. Or you can have paginated reports, Power BI reports built for printing and pagination and things like that. They can be also getting data from shared dataset. So you can have actually a shared dataset feeding into Power BI, Tableau, ClickSense, Excel, paginated reports, all of that. This multi-layered architecture I'm talking about is not something new. We had it previously in other like traditional BI toolset we had in SQL Server BI tools or anything else. This is an architecture that we had before. It's just using now the new components instead of traditional BI components. In the new component set, we are using data flows and data sets to decouple data transformation layer from modeling and visualization. Dataflow is not a core developer tool, it's Power Query. So usually people who are good at doing Power BI solutions, they can still go and build Dataflow, right? And Dataset is also part of Power BI, right? So it's something that someone with just a good knowledge of Power BI would be able to go and build it. And it is a model that is really low maintenance because you are not repeating your source code and you are reusing a lot of calculations and things like that that you have. So if I want to wrap it up before checking for the questions, Dataflow versus Dataset, they both stores data. They are not replacement of each other, they are complement of each other. Dataflow stores data in CSV format, Dataset stores it in memory storage. Dataset is replacement of DAX relationships. Dataflow is replacement of the Power Query. Dataset is modeling layer, Dataset is the transformation layer. The developer for the dataset is someone with good DAX and modeling skills. The developer of Dataflow is someone with good Power Query and M skills. Dataflow is replacement of the problem of having multiple versions of the same table in different files. Dataflow is going to solve that. Dataset, on the other hand side, solve the problem of having multiple report visualizers using the same model for visualization, right? This is just a like quick cheat sheet list of their differences. Okay, so that's pretty much it. All of things that I mentioned to you, there is a blog article and video about that in our YouTube channel, and I have a Power BI architecture course and book as well if you are interested to have a look. Now let's see if there is any questions.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Reza. So we are waiting for some questions here. Some of the questions we had were related to the event itself.
Yeah.
So guys, if you have any questions, now is the time to type it out in the Q&A section. We've got 2 questions for sharing the video link. We will share the video link once we get it published. In the meantime, until the questions are put in here, Dinesh, do you think you have any questions that you can send it to REZA's way? Or even NISAL?
I don't see anything. Let's continue, and then we'll try to take everything at the end of the session.
Okay, so there is one question right now from Himanta. He says, is configuring your own data lake Gen 2 for Power BI data flows better than going with the data lake that is configured internally by default? Would like to know the most appropriate way to go with the benefit and drawbacks of both.
So I say depends on what you want to do. If you want to just use like normal functionalities of a data flow, you are not going to connect to it from, let's say, another tool, not Power BI, from something else, then you can get away with just the internal data flows, which is like data flows with the internal Azure Data Lake storage. But the thing is that if, for example, later on, let's say you want to use Azure Data Factory or something like that to get data from the result of a Power BI data flow, you won't be able to do that because you won't be able to access the internal data lake storage inside the data flow if it is not your own data lake storage. So in those scenarios, you go ahead and connect your own Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 to Power BI so that you have the ability to connect to it from other tools and services. That is a scenario for such a thing.
Okay, thanks, Reza. Then Chanel has a question. Can we build linked data flows from other ERPs such as SAP?
Can we build linked data flows from other? I'm not sure what do you mean by linked data flows. In Dataflow, we have something called the linked entity. I'm not sure, are you talking about that, or you are talking about just a data flow that gets data from SAP, Oracle, and things like that? If you are talking about like getting data from Oracle, SAP, anything like that, yep, absolutely, you can do that. You have seen like number of data sources we had for building data flows, which is almost the same as Power BI Power Query in Power BI Desktop. You can build that. And the linked entity is something totally different. It's when you want one data flow entity to be used in another data flow entity as a source. That creates a linked entity, and that is a premium functionality.
Okay, thanks, Reza. We have Rasita. He asks, I have created a financial statement report using Power BI, but having an issue that when user changes a slicer, report takes some time to get refreshed. Some visualization, some measures take 10,000 milliseconds to update roughly. How can we show user still the report and its measures are being run in the backend? Like showing a card visual with some string in it, something like loading.
Yeah, that is more like a performance tuning scenario. It's not related to this topic we talked about, but if your measure takes like, let's say, 10 seconds to refresh, I'd say check it in DAX Studio, check to see what are performance issues with that. There might be a better way of writing that measure. You might be able to pass part of that into Power Query as a pre-calculation, do the rest as dynamic calculations. There are ways to performance tune it so it performs faster. I would recommend that definitely for such a scenarios like this.
Okay, and Rosita, further to your question, like Reza said, it's a performance tuning question. We do have our forum. We will share the links on this Q&A. So I recommend you putting it on the forum as well, so there'll be more people who might be able to jump on that question that we have. We also have another question. It says, can we implement slowly changing dimensions in the model?
You can, but it won't be that easy like building an SSIS data transformation of slowly changing dimension. It would require a bunch of transformations, especially because Power BI wipes out the data and reload it. So you have to combine this thing with incremental load. So building a slowly changing dimension and incremental load at the same time kind of would be a little bit challenge, because sometimes when you want to make the old record obsolete, this might not be the best scenario. So sometimes you have to do incremental refresh, sometimes you can't, because it's like a different approach. So short answer, yes, you can. Long answer, you might need to do quite a lot of data transformation to do that. I would recommend, if you are going to do something like that, do it with T-SQL or SSIS for now at this stage.
Okay, thanks so much, Reza. I don't think there are any more questions, so we can move on to the next segment. So once again, awesome. Thank you so much, Reza, for being part of the inaugural meetup. I know it's quite late down there in New Zealand. So once again, thanks a lot, Reza. We hope to
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for watching this. Sorry, I have to leave. I have an early start tomorrow. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'll send the slides to Gagula so he can share it with you.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Okay, continuing further. So if you have further questions, please put it up on the community site. We have a forum there. You need to sign up on paybiusergroup.com, and once you sign up, you go to paybiusergroup.com/Colombo and join our group. And there we have a discussion forum which you can use to put up your questions, and we'll have members of the community and experts who will be able to help you out with that. So Rasita, maybe this can be somewhere you can go and put up your questions. So let's move on to our next segment. So the next segment is called the favorite new feature. We have NISAL MIHIRANGA, who is a BA consultant at Fortude. He has spoken at several at many technical conferences, and he's also a blogger. So NISAL, if you can share your screen, I'll just put that up. And you are good to go, NISAL.
Okay, thank you, Gogula. So hi everyone, good evening. Welcome to my session, favorite new feature from Power BI update. My name is NISAL MIHIRANGA. I am a business intelligence consultant. So from the Power BI desktop May update, there are a list of features. So I have picked on one of the feature which is really I thought it is really useful. So I'm going to walk through how you can use that and how it's more valuable for your development. So let me quickly share with you my desktop, Power BI desktop. Hope everyone can see my screen. So I have created a sample report with 3 pages. I have home page, order details page, and invoice page. So this feature is basically we from the existing feature we can use a button to navigate to the different pages using a button. So for example, if I quickly walk you through how you can do that, we can add a button from here in this insert tab, and what you can do, you can enable the actions, and you can select the type, which is the page navigation, and you can select whatever the page which you need to go once you select this. Once you click this button, for example, if I click this button, it will go back to my home page. So that is the existing feature. From this new feature, what it does basically, it's allow us to do more customization, like we can set conditionally, we can set the parameters, and based on the condition or filter criteria, we can users enable to navigate through the different pages. So let me show you my published report, then you can basically get more understanding of it. So this is my report I have published using my user account. So based on the report I am going to select, I should be able to navigate through the different pages using this feature. So now I'm going to explain you how I have implemented that feature. For that, based on these 3 pages, I have 3 pages. This is the new page I just created. I'm just deleting that. So these are the 3-page report pages. So I have created a new table called pages table. So what I did, basically I just enter few data and create a table. So this is my table which contain the list of pages: home page, order details page, and invoice detail page. So after that, what I did, I just created a calculated measure. This measure, basically what it does, it's selecting this item based on the filter criteria based on the user selection, and hold it in this variable. So in order to use this feature, so what we have to do, basically, once you add a new button, so let me add a button again, and this is my button. So what you can do, select the page navigation, and without selecting this static page, what you can do, you can set conditionally, you can set some value. For example, this is my pages table, and this is my calculated measure I created. So what it does, based on the selection, after that I am going to use that in the drop down list. So based on that selection, it will automatically set the variable here as a destination, and it's work like that. So that is how this has been implemented. So you can see based on the filter criteria, you can navigate through the pages. This is really cool. So you know that there is another feature called row level security, which allow from the Power BI, which allow us to enable the security and enforce the security based on the user or user role. So what if we use this existing this feature, conditional page navigation feature, and row level security feature, and put it together and make it more useful. So as a second demo, I'm going to show you how we can do that. So in order to do that, so this is my sample data model I created for this report, and also I have created 2 more tables. So this is the existing my pages table, which contain the list of pages, which contain basically 3 pages, and the calculated measure I created for use it in the filter selection button. And also I have a user table. Let me show you quickly. My user table, which contain only for this demo, I have created my user account, and also I created a demo account, which is a NISAL account. So these are the 2 accounts in my system, but in reality, in the practical scenario or in the production, you may have to ingest all the Active Directory users based on the user access into this and create a table based on the user. So basically, this contains the username or a domain account. So I have 2 users and the domain account, and apart from that, what I have created another table which is called user pages mapping. I will show you that table as well, but it does basically, it contains the page name and also the domain account. So my objective is for the first user, NISAL M user, to set certain pages to allow, and for the other user, NISAL account, to access only for the home page and the invoice detail page. So after that, one thing you need to do actually, so I have connected this user page mapping table and user table together using this relationship, and also I need to connect with these pages also using this. If I show you my relationship, so it's a page user mapping, user page mapping table, page column, and the pages table, page name column. And also one thing you need to do, this particular relationship between your user list of user accounts and this pages account. This relationship should be bidirectional, and also you need to tick this checkbox, apply security filters on in both directions. Then only this row level security works. People who are familiar with the row level security, how we can implement that, it's really pretty straightforward thing. You can do it quickly, and you can find a lot of materials in the YouTube and the web. So I'm not going to spend time on how we can implement the row level security, but we'll focus on this demo. So I have these three tables. So this is the entire data model, which contain my existing data model and these three pages, table, user mapping table, and users table. So how we can implement the row level security. So here you need to create a role. Let me quickly show you how you can create that. You can give a name for your role, and also you need to mention what is the column you are going to use to filter based on the user. For example, in my case, I'm going to use the user table and UP or user principal name column. That is where all the list of users domain accounts stored. And also for this here, there's a DEX function called user principal name. Ideally, it's return the user account or domain account where the user is connecting to this Power BI report. So let me show you. You can validate and it's valid. This function. Since I'm already implemented this, I'm not going to save this. Just delete this. But in my this user role, I have already implemented that. So basically, what it does, based on the user, it will get filtered. That's the whole idea. So you can test that whether it's working properly or not from here. But since I already deployed this report into the Power BI service, so then I will show you how we can how the experience looks like after we deployed. So this is my account where I published this report. So what I did, basically, I created another workspace called demo workspace, and this is my report and the data model. So in order to make this available, and you need to add all the users where you need to restrict the row level security into the, you need to go to this, click the ellipse button, 3 dots, and go to the security. And you need to add all the users. In this case, since I'm the one who deployed this report, so which is not, since I'm the admin, so that row level security is not going to work. But this particular user, NISAL user, I have added to here. So what it does, basically, once the user NISAL, once he logged into this report, he only can see his authorized pages. That's my main idea. Let me show you my other account. So this is my another account, NISAL account. So I can see my the report. Let's see, open it and see what it looks like. So here only I can see, apart from the home page, I only can see the invoice detail. That is because I have enforced the security, and I only restrict for this user can navigate to the invoice detail tab page. So think about like this NISAL user is a user from finance department who are responsible for the invoicing and payment collection and etc. And the user NISAL is from sales department, who is only focus on the sales and so on. So imagine using this conditional page navigation feature and using row level security feature. By combining both together, we can do implement such a solution to enforce the security, not only for the particular data sets, but also the page or user page navigation experience. That is for my demo.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, do you have any questions so I can quickly go and explain?
I have asked for questions, Nisal. There aren't any questions up yet. So thank you so much. We will, so since you're anyway going to be on the panel, we will be taking questions right after the announcement. So if anybody has more questions, please bring your questions after the announcements. Okay, so thanks, Nisal. Let's get into the announcements segment.
Okay, thank you, Gokula.
Thank you. All right, so the Power BI is a very dynamic product. Lots of updates keep coming on a very regular basis. So what I've done here is I just put up a few things, a quick list of announcements. Number one is that the Power BI Desktop May 2020 edition, the feature which Nisal just showcased is part of that. It has 7 new connectors has a bunch of new preview features and a few more features going generally available. One of the key things about Power BI is that the shared and certified datasets feature when generally available on May 21st. Now, shared promoted and certified datasets, you can easily discover and reuse datasets built by various departments. So as a dataset owner, you can mark your dataset as promoted. So for example, if you are a finance department's designated finance analyst, you might have your own datasets which are used in the organization or in your department. So you can promote those datasets and make it available to other departments. And so those who are creating their reports, they know that it's from a reliable source. And then you can also have these datasets certified by the organization's data certification authority. So certain organizations might have an authority where they certify datasets, especially if these are data-driven organizations. So marking a dataset as certified, which can only be done by certain authorized people, will make known to the entire organization that your dataset is the most reliable to do reporting on top of. So that's a cool feature which is there at Power BI, which went generally available May 21st. And then talking about a feature which REZA touched upon, data flows. Now, data flows used to be only a feature where you can only import data, but now you have direct query as well, which is now a preview feature in data flows. So Power BI has a lot of preview features, especially on Power BI Desktop. So you can unlock those features. So preview features are like beta features, which are added to Power BI Desktop for users to test and provide feedback. So you can enable preview features on your Power BI Desktop by going to options and then preview features, and you can check the features that you want to try out. And finally, as part of the announcements, the Microsoft Business Application Summit happened a few weeks ago. It was a summit which dealt with the Power Platform and also Dynamics or D365. So there were quite a bunch of really good Power BI sessions. So there is a quick reference, a set of Power BI sessions which are made available on the Power BI blog. It is also posted on our LinkedIn page. So if you can, so that's a very good resource to learn about the new things that are on Power BI and so forth. So that's what I have for as announcements. There are a whole bunch of announcements that come out on a monthly basis. The best place to go and take a look at those is the Power BI blog. Dinesh and Nisal, do you have anything that you'd like to share?
Not at this moment, Google.
Okay. NISAL, you good too? So there don't seem to be any more questions put up on the Q&A. So it looks like we can close off the session. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining. If you have more questions, if you want to help out with the community in solving people's problems on Power BI, please go to pbiusergroup.com, sign up, and go to pbiusergroup.com/Colombo and join the group. We need a lot of you experts and enthusiasts here in Sri Lanka to help the community grow. So with that, since there are no more questions, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. So we hope to have something soon in the next couple of weeks.